super bright.
You're not going here again. There you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maira Genovese. I'm the CEO and founder of MG Empower. Very excited to be back at MedFest 2025. Thank you so much for everyone that is here to see our presentation. So today we're going to talk about attention is digital, connection is phygital. So I think it's a trend that is, we say that is not a trend, right? So physical and digital words, if they don't think, your audience is experiencing a very fragmented brand experience. So the phygital shift. Phygital, it's at the moment 52 billion market. And this is not going anywhere. It's going to continue to grow. Only in 2023, 70% of Fortune 5 retailers launched phygital initiatives. And what that means, that they are investing more because the market now is valued 52 billion, as I just said, but they're investing more in a much more sophisticated, in a much more authentic, in a much more memorable way. I think you all saw what happened in Coachella this year, where I think there was like 25% increase of brand experience in Coachella. And just recently in Cannes Film Festival, Campari, Nespresso, Magnum, just to mention a few, create 10 days of phygital experience there engaging with consumers. So why this shift? Because sometimes this, when you look at back into the industry and how industry evolved, it's important to ask yourself, why this shift? I'm sure everyone here has, have a very good memories of the time of the pandemic where we all felt very lonely and we all crave for a human connection. But all we had at the time was the digital. We were scrolling, and it was when the time TikTok rise, where everyone was going to TikTok from Gen Z to millennials, because all we had at the time was to connect it through content. But that time is when the shift has started. And we all start feeling that we want to have those real connections. So combine digital with physical experience become a must for every brand, because we start getting tired. And I'm not saying bored to be scrolling on so many different platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, to mention a few. Was not about being bored, but was about it's too much information, and we want to get out of the screen and we want to have those real connections. So the search for real connection shows us that 85% of consumers are expecting brands to offer more than just products. They wanted to have experience, and this is a real fact. So brands now, they must, it's without a question, it's a must. They need to blend physical and digital, because if they don't, they are going to be fragmented, as I said at the beginning. But the most important thing that you have to make sure that there's an authenticity between what you're doing physical and digital, and they need to talk to each other, because if they don't, your brand is not going to be engaged with your product. So why phygital? So as I said, phygital is just not just an ad tech, right? It's about creating fluid, it's about connecting journeys between the digital and the physical world across your consumer, and making sure that they have a synchron between them, because the touch points of your consumers, they will be navigating to both experiences, and they need to talk to each other in order to feel authentic and in order to create memorable experience. Because the touch points of your brand strategy cannot start or end into one channel. They need to start and end on a synchronized strategy journey. So here we have a few stats that can, show us that consumers are more and more craving for that. So 84% rise in disengagement come from phygital experience. 65% of consumers prefer phygital over traditional experience. So again, it's so important when we're creating a strategy and when we're thinking about what is the best way to engage our customers and to the journeys that we are creating, that we use insights and facts to determine what, as a brand, we should be doing. So the conclusion here is that Phygital isn't new. So now it's finally and is necessary to every brand. I think we all can remember the time of the QR codes. We still have the QR codes, but that experience with consumers started with QR codes, it started with novel apps, and now this is not the backbone of what brands should be doing. So modern brands should be creating ROL experience to drive return of investment, of course, and maintain the loyalty of your consumers. So, but how do you, if you're a brand or if you're an agency or an audience, so how do you go from being a digital influencer, engagement, working with brands and creating influencers strategies to engage with talents, to be an immersion agency or immersion brand and combine both? So, we as an agency, we started as an influencer market agency only. And as the industry was evolved, and I'm talking about the industry evolved even before the pandemic. I think everyone remember the live shoppings when during the pandemic, every single brand were doing live shop on TikTok and on Instagram. So that was showing that, consumers were craving for more like live connection, but that was on a digital again, so it was not on a physical. So we started seeing that change back in the days, and then we have to ask ourselves, so how do we take this challenge to our clients and to our brands? So how do we now will combine strategies that are 360, where we can create customer journeys that can go from influencer activation is still collaborating with creators, being a culture relevance, because it's very important nowadays as well for both digital and physical to think about the culture relevance, because that's something that to become memorable, you need to make sure that whatever you're doing, with marketing you're doing, you are considering your audience locally and bringing the culture relevance to what you're doing. So we start bringing key insights to our clients at the time after the pandemic, and then showing them how they could combine both influencers, creator, and how to bring influencers and creators within their experience. And then that's how we will start creating that shift within our agency and providing to our clients that you can turn online attention into RL engagement. So, we have created what we call like an integrated pivot, because as I said, from an influencer market agency to be an integrated approach, we have to reimagine our work. How this is going to work, how are we going to do that? So that meant that our strategy could no longer be just one touch point. We have to reinvent our work and then create that framework where 360 approach will be, the way forward for any brand that wants to create that loyalty and that memorable, and of course, engage with our customers. So our approach is very simple. We are not just a creator-led campaign, but we create culture-led campaigns. And then we're not just about moments on the feed, but memories in real life. So, but how we go from that framework and actually create a strategy that you can blend both. So here is just 3 rules, and Andrea will be presented to you. She's our senior strategist at MD Empower, and then we're going to give you like a real example of how we have recreated the way we approach brands on the Phygital element. So few takeaways here, sorry, not takeaway, but so the 3 rules of how to build the experience. So design the journey, not just the moment, because if you just look isolated, I need to create a moment for my client, for my brand, but not think on the full journey. This is not going to create the engagement and the return that you're looking for. So number 2, let your content live in the crowd. What means live in the crowd? Engage with creators, engage with influencers, engage with tech platform, and let that create content for you in an organic way which is our UGC, user-generated content. Because of course, if you create memorable experience, people will want to share, they will want to show the experience that they're having, so that is the important element of making sure that your content lives with the crowd. So build the experience that feel personal and perform commercially. Because there's a lot of questions from brands. So how do we do our experience to become commercially? There's many ways that you can do experience and turn it into a commercially experience at the same time that you're creating a memory experience. And Andrea is going to show you how to do that.
Well, thank you, Maira. And hi, everyone. So yeah, we wanted to put a little bit of that framework, that plain, like a blueprint, into bringing you a real case study that we actually delivered earlier this year with one of our top clients, that is Sol de Janeiro. So just a little bit of context. Sol, earlier this year, they were gearing up to do the launch of one of their most impressive, up-to-date products in 2025. And this was more than just a skincare product for them, because it was the first product that was going to be targeted specifically to Gen Zer, and they were even entering the market with a new price point that really appealed to this specific audience. So beyond that, and beyond just launching a product, what they really wanted to do is bring this concept of balada, because the brand is inspired in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and balada in Brazil, it's something that is very culturally intrinsic to the community. It feels like being the hottest thing, like feeling irresistible. And they wanted to make sure that that message just didn't live online, but actually that lived offline, and that the creators, the influencers, could take that into their community. So the brand really needed just attention. They wanted more than just attention. So the challenge that came to us was, guys, we need you to create a very immersive and unforgettable Phygital experience, something that is truly different, something that is not your average drop of a new product, but actually be very mindful when building the journey about who are we trying to engage with. So we had 3 main target audiences. First one being the press. And when we were thinking even about the strategy, we were pretty much looking into not just why the brand was doing this, but also why would a press partner come to the event? How will they transmit the message into digital channels? Then engage influencers to not just partner with them to create content, but really turn them into true advocates for this new Gen Z product that was coming out. And finally, to capture the hearts of the Gen Zers. So we had to build an experience that was with 3 different audiences, 3 different needs, and 3 different cravings of how they were going to communicate that. And the goal was simple in terms of wording, but not so simple in terms of actual strategy. So what we needed to do was really spark the hype, make sure that we were creating virality, and make sure that we were creating real-world connections, turning that product storytelling into a physical experience that didn't allow the brand just to connect with the attendees and with the consumers, but also allow them to connect between them, to have that cross-pollination between the community. So instead of keep talking about it, we want to show you how that rolled out. Dancing here on the stage. So our approach was simple. Let's bring that Rio street energy that people would live in Rio de Janeiro streets into New York City, so that we can turn that balada feeling more than in just a word, and a natural, experiential, immersive moment. So what we did was curate moments, really thinking about how is every single touch point during this journey gonna spark that connection. Again, not just between the brand and the people, but between the people that we're assisting and with their communities digitally. So that set a perfect framework for us to really think about how we're going to wave Phygital moments and touch points into the experience and take them from awareness to actual conversion. Important point here, this event was also to announce that the brand was launching this product exclusively through Sephora. So it was super important for us to even have that bridge into the e-commerce to actually achieve that conversion. So just wanted to highlight a few of these key moments. We were even from a registration point that could be quite simple, just take your name and let's go. It's really about creating a perfect moment to capture that specific moment, sorry for the repetition. And then how, from that, will they transition into something that will be truly immersive? Even taking into account the ads that they had been created for the product launch, how could we bring that people were seeing in the advertisements and in the main hero videos, bringing it into the experience? We also transform product education. Sometimes in brick and mortar stores, the product education can be a little bit dull, a little bit boring, because again, you're talking about, okay, yes, ingredients about a lotion. So we said, how can we do this in a more immersive, but also sparking the senses of people? So we actually, there we go. Oh, yeah. So we actually created a full locker that was breaking down every single benefit of the product, but through immersiveness, through really triggering the senses. And finally, we turn real-life excitement into social currency. So a photo moment wasn't, and it shouldn't be anymore, just a photo moment. It needs to also be able to live through digital. But also to close that loop, again, awareness to conversion, what we had was a full-on section that was a Sephora checkout, where they would just scan a QR code, get directed straight into the basket within Sephora to purchase the product. So really a full 60. If you scan the QR code there, you're going to get redirected to our YouTube channel, where you're going to be able to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of how everything of this also came together to that great final video.
So we don't have much time, so this is the key takeaways, and we'll be having a QR code at the end, so you can download this presentation. And if you have any question, or if you want to speak with us or discuss more about Phygital, and we are here, and then our QR code is on the next slide. And thank you so much for being here. 15 minutes goes like this. Thank you so much.